morning. Morning Barbados, good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Well, good morning indeed. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday, August 2nd. Wow, what a weekend it has been. Long weekend. So I would imagine you had an opportunity to get your rest. Of course, it's crop over as well. So I'm sure you went out and had a good time. Now it's time for back to work today for those of us who have to be at work. Nonetheless, we're going to have a good day. Trust me. We certainly have a great show planned for you today. So we're encouraging you to stick around and spend a little time with us. A special welcome to those of you on the World Wide Web. We're always streaming. I'm Teshia Hinds. I'll be here until 8 o'clock. So we're hoping that you can absolutely stay. Today we're looking at some genealogy, and there's a big marketplace coming up, the crop over edition. You know, we have to try to get all of that in. I'm welcoming two wonderful ladies I'm happy to see again. Madge Dalrymple, who's product manager acting at the BTMI. Great to have you with us. And also here is Ingrid Thompson, Chief Archivist with the Barbados Archives Department. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to all our viewers.
All right, so it's good to have you here to talk about genealogy. We were kind of discussing a little bit before we even came on air, and some people are thinking, what is this about? So let's break it down and start at the very beginning. Thompson, talk to us about what genealogy is and why we should be interested at this time.
Yes, well, genealogy is all about tracing your family history and not family tree. Because when you trace your family history, it speaks to the way of life of your ancestors, how they work, what they were doing, where they live, their social customs, and so on. And so it's all about doing that. And it's very important for us here to do it. It's a phenomenon overseas, international, not only local. And we need to know our Barbadian history. And as you go about doing your family history, you get to know a lot of local Barbadian history and not really the history that is written by our European colonists. So I think it's important, and we get to know what it is to be a Bajan.
Wow, that's an interesting way to put it, Ms. Dalrymple. I know that there are a lot of people coming into the island a lot of the times, and sometimes we do these shout outs. You know, we're having a family reunion and we're looking for the relatives of, or you hear a name, you know, like we were saying, my family are Hinds, where are your Hinds from? But I mean, we're on a 2x4 island. I mean, you know, nobody wants to think about it, but a lot of us are probably relating. So, you know, this is a great place to start.
Right. Good morning, Teshia. Good morning, Barbados. Thanks for having us. The people might wonder why the BTMI is involved in genealogy and not only the archives. We've had a collaboration with the archives for the past 8 years or more, actually. Yes. And the genealogy marketplace came out of these discussions, and we thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for persons to come to Barbados and not only come know Barbados for sun, sand, and sea. You know, we have the heritage component, and family reunions and family and finding their heritage is a big part of that. Actually, last week there was a group here from the US, 60 persons, the Skeet family, and they came down because they found that their great-great-grandmother was Barbadian, so they came to see the island and to have a reunion on the island. So that's part of the whole genealogy aspect that we are trying to push. You know, you want to find out the second and third generations. You would have heard maybe my grandmother was from Barbados, but where is Barbados? What is Barbados all about? So we want to encourage those persons in the diaspora to come to Barbados to find out what's going on. And we're having what we call the crop over edition, because we normally have the genealogy marketplace around Independence. It's usually the Saturday before Independence. But this time around we wanted to capture some of those persons who might not necessarily be interested in having these crop over activities, but they're here along for the ride, and they might be looking for something to do during the day on Thursday the 3rd. So they can come over to the archives from 10 o'clock until 5 p.m.
All right, so from 10 to 5, I mean, you have a host of activities that will be happening. So let's talk a little bit about them, Ms. Thompson.
Yes, well, we have a workshop. We call it our Basic 101 Genealogy Workshop for those persons who have never started or know how to start to trace their family. So that workshop, you would get information and literature on how to go about starting. You need to speak to your relatives, you need to, any old documents you have, you need to be able to bring those, and we will get you started on the journey. Also, within our research room, we're going to have a display of documents which provides evidence of our Barbadian connections in the diaspora. So we have information on Panama, Brazil, Liberia, South Carolina, and Barbados in general. So persons can come and have a look and just get a bit of a teaser of what is preserved at the Archives Department, because you can appreciate we have records from 1635, going back from 1635.
Wow.
So you can imagine how many documents we have, and 98% is paper. So you can appreciate how many documents we have at the Archives Department. So it's just a teaser of some of the things that we have there that persons can come and have a look at. And we're also going to have a booth whereby you can actually come and get one-on-one help, discussion and so on with staff members on how to actually do your own family tree. So the workshop is to tell you the process, but then you're going to have that assistance on that day tomorrow.
I know with genealogy, there's also a bigger picture when it comes to far from only tracing, what with your life or what's going on with you. There's a bigger picture in terms of maybe health and what's happening with your body. There may be things that you're experiencing that you're thinking, why is this going on with me? And then through genealogy, you're able to figure out what's going on with that as well.
Yes, correct.
So that's
Teshia,
important.
yes, because we have death records from going back from 1925, and these records will give cause of death. And then we also have records from the psychiatric hospital, and you would be able to have be able to peruse those records and look and see in terms of person's health, your ancestors, and some things are genetic. So it's important to know that.
All right, now Madge, I know as only the BTMI can do, you guys have also injected some pretty interesting other stuff into this day of celebrations as well. So talk to us about that.
Right. It's not only about fun. We want to make the day as enjoyable as possible while connecting everything to genealogy. So we have a games corner where you can do some indigenous games such as worry and hopscotch and stuff like that you might remember from your youth. Food is very important to Barbadians. So we're going to have food from the Caribbean and food from some of the other connections that we would have, such as Charleston and places like that, Africa and wherever, because actually the marketplace has now gone international. It's not only in Barbados. We've had marketplaces in Atlanta and we had one in Charleston. The Charleston connection is absolutely interesting. You might know that Barbados formed the Carolinas, and so when persons were thinking that, I have no connection to Barbados, I heard about it a bit, but no connection. The names are so Barbadian. We found about 40 names when we went to Charleston that are Barbadian, and people never knew where the name was. So now there's that interest to definitely come over to Barbados and find out. But on the actual day, you can also, you're going to also have a lecture, or we call them talks. And one of the talks will be on medicinal plants and herbs that we might be using in Barbados, and you'll just get to hear a bit more about the background of them. And then there was a recently released documentary on Liberia, just released the 26th of July, and we'll be showing that at the archives on tomorrow, actually.
Yes.
Really, tomorrow.
Yes,
tomorrow the
Yes.
3rd, you can see that documentary.
Yes.
And a group of Liberians, a group of Barbadians went to Liberia, and they made a very big impact on that country. And you will get to see a bit of that history in that documentary.
I know there are also plans for some of them to come back to Barbados, many generations on, to figure out their roots, and they took
May 2024.
Yeah, they took some Barbadian things, and they named
fruit,
and they named some of the places and so on for Barbados. So I would imagine that's going to be very, very interesting. I know quite recently there has been a big interest in genealogy because there are a lot of stars or known
Yes.
entities, well-known people who've been tracing their genealogy. And what has piqued our interest is a lot of them have traced their roots back to Barbados too.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I can tell you the family reunion that I was talking about earlier, the Skeet family reunion, Durant, the basketball player, his roots are in Barbados.
Wow.
Yes,
Yes.
his mother was actually on
Yes,
that trip.
yes.
Yeah, and they can trace their roots back to the Skeet
Yes.
family, and they planted 2 trees in Barbados for longevity.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
And
they
just
did.
and just last month we had the Weeks family, another group out of Liberia, who had also had a family reunion, about 94 persons, and they're all excited to come and make that connection, to know who their family. Because since 1865, no Liberian has been to Barbados in terms of from that group of persons that would have emigrated in 1865. But although we have the Sankofa pilgrimage, as they're calling it, next year, at the archives we have seen persons coming in, one-on-one, small little groups, coming and tracing their family history. And we would have started a project, we're almost complete in terms of tracing information on those 346 persons that immigrated to Liberia. And as you know, Teshia, you usually say you find a Bajan everywhere.
Everywhere.
And it's so true. Madge would have referenced in South Carolina, persons, whether blacks, Caucasian. This Caucasian gentleman came into our booth and I asked him, do you have family in Barbados? And he said no. I asked him, what is your last name? He said Archer. So I told him, well, we have 1,000,001 archers in the parish called St. Lucie. So all of them, even the driver of the Uber, he said his last name is Barton. I said, well, we have Bartons in St. George, coming out of St. George in Barbados. So I can see the advantage that Barbados have, because with tourism, they are looking at having an edge over the other destinations within the Caribbean. And I think our rich heritage, not only our rich heritage, but the records at the archives, which provides that evidence, that is what is going to take us across that line.
It's true, and to find out about what your ancestors were doing,
Yes,
what your parents
yes.
are up to. Sometimes it's so uncanny. I have a friend who actually did, retrace the heritage. She's German, and it turned out that her great grandmother, so far removed, had similar interests to what what she was interested in and what she ended up doing in her own career. And so sometimes those things are just so uncanny when you're able to unveil them. So this is all coming off tomorrow.
Yes.
Again, is programmed for the 8th Genealogy Marketplace, usually around Independence, but now a special crop over edition. So starting at 10 o'clock, MC is Jennifer Walker, so you're going to get some big laughs and smiles. Start of the marketplace with the opening of the booths, introduction by Dancing Africa, storytelling with Stacey Barrow, a talk, The Silent Doctor, an introduction to medicinal plants, and history, properties by Annette Maynard Watson. Then from 10:30 to 12, you have the Genealogy Workshop. Another talk on genealogy and its importance to Barbadian history is at 11:30. 12:30, folk song competition, audience participation. I was looking at that because look, I think of a few things that I could come up with for folk songs that would make for, good history in years to come. The Calypso Entertainment Package with TC and Natalie, Tay and Mikey comes up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a packed day. 2 o'clock, a documentary, Guyanese Migration or Family Search, the story of the Carcine Greenwich, is that the name? 2 to 4, another genealogy workshop. 3 o'clock, a documentary, as we told you, Barbadians living in Liberia. 4 p.m., Diggers, the Panama Connection. So there definitely is a lot happening, lots to look forward to. And
And we also have the East Indians. They're going to be participating, so they're going to have a booth. Sabir Nukuda, he's going to be
his
there
book
along
is
with
Bengal to Barbados.
He's going to be having books on sale, himself and Maurice Greenwich.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to see and a lot to do.
It's really interesting because even with Sabir's book, I mean, it was so interesting because we know Glenn Benjamin as a media person, and his family features heavily in the book because his maternal grandfather was the first itinerant worker of East Indian descent in Barbados. And you would look at Glenn and you don't necessarily see that. You know, so it's very, very interesting stuff. I most certainly look forward to it. If you miss me from work tomorrow, you know why. But thank you, ladies, for coming in and sharing with us. Of course, Madge Dalrymple, Product Manager with the BTMI, and Ingrid Thompson, Chief Archivist with the Barbados Archives Department. I know that we started a lot of this stuff for regathering, and this is what really kind of piqued my interest, and you know, finding out who are the main names as you go for the various parishes, and it's all so very interesting, but it's all very, very important, especially at this time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so final word from you, Ms. Thompson.
Well, just want everybody to come out. We have something for everyone, and come and start to trace your family history. When you start, you sort of become addictive. So you just need to make that first step to come out, and wish to see everyone there tomorrow.
All right, what about you, Madge?
Well, Ingrid said it all. Basically, come out to the archives tomorrow. This collaborative effort between BTMI and the archives. There's something for everyone, and you will never have a dull moment. Trust me.
It's kind of like these shirts the ladies are wearing. You see it, and on the surface it looks blue, and then boom, you turn the collar, and it's that beautiful color inside. So you might get some surprises when you come out tomorrow from 10 o'clock in the morning. Be sure to check it out. And it's always a great time to make a trip to the Archives Department. Trust me.